Do you want to know how I got these scars? Happy Friday. Here's your wrestling news. A retired WWE superstar's attempted return to the ring was denied by doctors. AEW revealed TV taping plans for the foreseeable future, and a WWE Hall of Famer has signed a new deal. Find out who in a little bit. Let's talk about Tyson Kidd, something that we haven't said since he was in the background being indifferent on an episode of Total Divas. Tyson Kidd has retired from wrestling, as we know. Back in 2015, suffered a horrific injury after taking a muscle buster from Samoa Joe, and hasn't seen in-ring action since. That was nearly not the case. He was talking to the Win column about this recently. He said, "I did look into doing a little something in a Royal Rumble, so that could be my last chapter, and it didn't work out. I did get looked at, and things are good, but things are not at that level in terms of my neck." So Tyson Kidd, back in 2009, arrived in the WWE. He was a big part of the early days of NXT, sort of after it became that weird, wacky game show and became like a proper wrestling show. He headlined the first ever takeover with Adrian Neville. So he went on from there to become a multi-time tag team champion on the main roster with guys like David Hart, Smith and Cesaro, and it was in 2015 where he suffered a spinal cord injury after taking a muscle buster from Samoa Joe. Get this right, 16 staples, 4 screws and a rod in his neck. Like Tyson Kidd, the injury was so bad he is lucky to be alive and walking. It's incredible. Tyson Kidd was set to be out for a year, then it became another year, and then it ended up being a retirement early. In 2017, he was hired by the WWE as a full-time producer, and he ends the interview reflecting on this, saying, "I'm at peace with everything. I haven't wrestled in 5 years almost. June the 1st, 2015 was my last match, and I'm at peace with it. I love what I do now, and being part of working with the talent." He's certainly been a massive help to some people on the women's roster. Like he and Fit Finlay have helped build matches for them, among other things. Tyson Kidd, whilst it would have been great to see him have that one final run, make one big appearance in the Rumble one year, it doesn't look like that's happening, but it's just great to hear somebody who's at peace with things. Cody Rhodes did a media call yesterday ahead of tomorrow night's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. You can see our predictions for it on the Cultaholic YouTube channel right now. He discussed quite a few things outside of Double or Nothing, looking at AEW going forward and their TV plans. We'll go through some of the notes from the media call. He said that 90% of what the fans are going to see at Double or Nothing is what was creatively planned for Double or Nothing prior to the pandemic. Obviously, a few things had to change for obvious reasons. Cody discussed the TNT Championship, saying that it won't fit. Not now, mother. It won't fit as part of the top 5 brackets. It'll sort of be its own thing. And they said they're still sort of trying to figure out what role it's going to play in the grand scheme of things, whether it be a mid-card title or something else. They're not quite sure yet. The pandemic testing for wrestling shows that AEW are holding takes place away from Daily's place. The wrestlers and the staff are tested separately. He was keen to talk about the testing procedure that is going ahead for AEW. They say the Mike Tyson thing for Double or Nothing came about from meeting him last year in Las Vegas. And they said they wanted to have somebody with an element of prestige to present the TNT Championship. So why not a WWE Hall of Famer? And he's quite good at boxing as well, apparently. Looking ahead to TV for the foreseeable future, AEW said over the next 2 weeks they expect to reschedule some date announcements for postponed shows. They're optimistic about what is coming forward, but the plan is to stay in Jacksonville, Florida for the time being and do the TV from there. It just saves the risk of traveling to different places all the time. They're very excited at AEW, says Cody, to work in front of fans again. I think everybody's in that boat at the moment, but they want to take it steady rather than rush to get to a live event somewhere with a live crowd. So Jacksonville, Daily's Place, is going to be the home of AEW Dynamite for the foreseeable. We don't talk enough about Major League Wrestling. MLW were doing some really good stuff on TV up until the pandemic hit. Court Bauer from MLW tweeted out recently, "The deal I've been hinting at is done. Cannot wait to share this with our fans, our locker room and our crew. It fortifies our future." Now, the Wrestling Observer believes this deal should be announced any time now, and it's believed to be a streaming deal with a major carrier. So this is like the holy grail for a lot of wrestling companies now, to get that streaming deal which can put their product out to more places. One thing I love about MLW, and again, we don't talk about them enough and we really should, MLW currently are on hiatus. Court Bauer has said he has no interest in running live shows in front of no fans, but just before all of this went down, they filmed a whole block of tapings, and part of that taping saw the evil Contra faction take over MLW. So they've actually incorporated the fact they're on hiatus into the storyline by saying that Contra has taken over MLW and that's why there are no shows. That's just beautiful timing. Mwah! Chef's kiss for creativity for MLW. The fans do really make a difference when it comes to wrestling shows. That's a really obvious statement to make, but it's fortified by an interview that Rhea Ripley did on Flash Morgan Webster's podcast recently. Rhea Ripley talks about her rise to becoming NXT Women's Champion and how it wasn't meant to be the case. They were meant to build to Ripley versus Shayna Baszler going one-on-one, and it was meant to be a match that was going to sort of strengthen Shayna Baszler some more. Shayna was going to win cleanly by submission. However, the fans at Full Sail were so reactive and so receptive to Rhea Ripley that the team changed their mind altogether. And instead of losing cleanly to Rhea Ripley, it was a DQ loss to Rhea Ripley, and down the line, Ripley ended up becoming the NXT Women's Champion. That came down to the reaction from the fans. It's stuff like that that can really change the plans for wrestling. You know, would we have had Daniel Bryan's rise to the top had it not been for the Yes movement? You know, the guy is so great, it's undeniable, but you have to understand that in that build to WrestleMania 30, the groundswell for Daniel Bryan really turned that around. And then I look at someone like Drake Maverick on NXT right now, who is on the way out of the company, and you can't help but feel gutted that if there'd been a live crowd there making all the noise and cheering on Drake Maverick, that he would have almost definitely been kept around. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We still don't know, who knows, but you know that would have solidified the decision to have those wild crowds for Drake Maverick every night. As a wrestling historian, I'd like to talk about the Demon, please. This is WCW's Wrestling Demon. Let's talk about him for a bit. Chris Jericho had a chat about the Demon on My Mom's Basement. So if you're not familiar, the Demon, this is a Gene Simmons proposition. So Gene Simmons and Kiss worked with WCW and created a wrestler originally played by Bryan Adams and then later played by Dale Torborg. And it just it fizzled out very quick. But I found out some really interesting details about the Demon. So if you're an aged wrestling fan like me, then stick around. Chris Jericho on My Mom's Basement says Gene Simmons first went to Vince McMahon with the idea of doing a Kiss Demon wrestler, and then also pitched a faction for the Demon, including a Star Child, a Spaceman, and a Catman. Vince said no. Strangely. Bischoff said yes, though, and WCW went for it, making the Kiss Demon. First it was Bryan Adams, then Dale Torborg, as we've said. The idea was them to do four Kiss-related characters, because Gene felt that Kiss, wrestling, and science fiction all fitted together. It was totally the brainchild of Gene Simmons to introduce it. It wasn't there. I wasn't there, says Jericho, and obviously it didn't do very well, but at the end, that was the end of it. But at one point, there were supposed to be 4 of them. So, fun facts. The takeaway from this is Gene Simmons came up with the Demon. He pitched it to Vince, who said no. Bischoff said yes. Gene Simmons wanted a faction of demons. Now, TEW 2020, the wrestling simulator, the football manager of professional wrestling, is now out now. I'm excited to see what you do with that information if you're playing that game. And finalamo, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment of my life. When you walk around telling everyone you're number one, the only way to stay number one is to be number one, etc. Ric Flair has signed a brand new contract with WWE. He posted on Twitter the signature on the bottom line, and he's incredibly excited for what is to come. He tweeted out saying, limousine riding, jet flying, styling and profiling, then, now, forever with WWE. And then a big old woo at the end, because he's Ric Flair. We haven't seen Flair on WWE TV since the last show in Saudi Arabia, the whole Team Flair versus Team Hogan shenanigan. But we are getting a WWE 24 documentary on Ric Flair in June. It was announced by Charlotte Flair just the other day. So you might have seen some stories reporting that Ric Flair had signed a new deal. That had been some rumour and innuendo. I kind of wanted to mention it here because now it's been made official. Ric Flair sticking with the WWE. I doubt we'll see anything in ring from Flair, but certainly a lot of use of his likeness, a lot of goodwill ambassadorness, and probably I'd like him to manage somebody. Maybe once everything gets back to normal. Be quite fun to see Ric Flair in some sort of managerial capacity. I think he still can offer something. Charlotte's the obvious choice. I think we've done that. I think Charlotte's moving on from that, maybe. I'd like to know what you think in the comments. So that's your news for today. I just want to end by saying that tomorrow marks my 1 year anniversary being on the Cultaholic YouTube channel. It was a year ago tomorrow that I sat next to Adam Pacitti for the very first time. And I was kind of hoping that we'd be sat together again by this point, but the world is still on fire, so that isn't happening. So from the spare room / office at Isolation Station 24601, thank you for all your support over the last year. Whether you love what I do or despise what I do, it's all greatly appreciated. Feedback's always welcome. Thank you very much for making this a genuinely wonderful year. I've had the best time, and here's to many more. Here's to at least another week. Stay safe. Love you, bye.